Hi friends, good morning. Welcome to UPSC World. This is Dr. Harinath Reddy, Director of the Institute. For all those who are preparing for UPSC Mains 2025, here you have one more important topic which probably might come in the mains exam in either GS paper 2 or paper 3. So the topic is the power of the states. Recently there was a judgment by a 9-judge bench. Last year in 2024, in the month of July, there was an important judgment by 9-judge bench of the Indian Supreme Court, headed by the then Chief Justice of India, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. So the judgment was delivered by 8:1 majority, and it has undone an earlier judgment given by the Supreme Court in India cement case. So the name of the judgment here is Mineral Area Development Authority versus Steel Authority of India 2024. This is the name of the case. The recent judgment in 2024 by a 9-judge bench was given in this particular case, Mineral Area Development Authority versus Steel Authority of India 2024. So this judgment has reversed an earlier judgment given by a 7-judge bench in India cement case. Then what is the issue here? When there are lands bearing minerals, who has the power to tax mineral bearing lands? Is it the parliament which has the legislative competence, or is it the state legislatures which have the competence to tax mineral bearing lands? So till recently there was a perception that it is the parliament which has the power to tax mineral bearing lands. But in the recent judgment, the Supreme Court has clarified that parliament does not have the legislative competence, only the state legislatures have the legislative competence to tax mineral bearing lands. So to appreciate whether the parliament has the competence or the state legislatures have the competence, let us see the distribution of powers in the 7th schedule under Article 246 with respect to minerals. For example, if you take the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution, in the union list, that is a list 1, you have an entry called entry 54. The union list now contains 98 items. Entry 54, it speaks about regulation of mines and mineral development. So to regulate mines and mineral development, in 1957, Indian Parliament has made a law, Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957. So in the recent judgment, the Supreme Court said, Parliament has the power to make laws only to regulate mineral development. Parliament does not have the legislative competence to tax mineral bearing lands under the 1957 law. I told what is 1957 law. The 1957 law was made by the Indian Parliament, and it is known as Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957. Under this law, the union government can regulate mineral development. Parliament cannot make laws to levy taxes on the mineral bearing lands. So the power to tax mineral bearing lands, it is there in the state government. Then how the Supreme Court has justified? If you move to list 2, list 2 is a state list. In list 2, we have entry 23, regulation of mines and mineral development. We have entry 49, taxes on lands and buildings, and entry 50, taxes on mineral rights. If you take entry 49 of the state list, it speaks about taxes on lands. So the Supreme Court in the recent case has interpreted the power of the states to tax on lands. It includes the power to tax mineral bearing lands. And then there was one more important issue which was clarified by the Supreme Court. There is something called royalty and tax. Under the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957, there is reference to royalty. So as of now, in India, royalty on major minerals is fixed by the union government. So like petroleum, natural gas, coal, these are major minerals. On major minerals, royalty is decided by the union government in consultation with states. But the income which accrues from royalty, it is collected and taken by the states. So I am trying to repeat. The income which comes through royalty does not go to the central government. The central government will fix the amount of royalty in consultation with states, and the income which comes through royalty, it is entirely taken by the state governments. But many a times there is a problem that the central government does not revise the royalty rates periodically. If the central government does not revise the royalty rates periodically, the states will lose income. That's the reason why Sarkaria Commission on Center-State Relations has recommended revising the royalty rates every 2 years. Madan Mohan Punji Commission said that royalty rates have to be revised every 3 years. If there is any delay in revising the royalty rates by the union government, any loss incurred by the states must be compensated by the central government. Then the next question is royalty a tax? I said royalty on major minerals is fixed by the union government. If royalty is a tax, then if union government fixes royalty, then the states don't have the capacity to tax mineral bearing lands. If you take the earlier judgment, 7-judge bench, in this case, the Supreme Court said, India's Cement Limited case, the Supreme Court said royalty is a tax. If royalty is a tax which is levied under the central law, then it means it is the union government which has the power to levy tax on mineral bearing lands under the parliamentary law. In India Cement case, the Supreme Court said royalty is a tax. So if the union government has the power to levy tax on mineral bearing lands, then it means the states don't have the right to tax mineral bearing lands. But in the recent judgment, in Mineral Area Development Authority versus Steel Authority of India Limited, 2024 July, the Supreme Court said royalty is not a tax. Royalty is a kind of fee collected from those who got mining leases. So royalty is not a tax. If royalty is not a tax, then royalty is levied under the parliamentary law made by Indian Parliament. So which means Parliament does not have the capacity to levy tax on mineral bearing lands. It can only levy royalty, which is not a tax. This is the interpretation given by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court said entry 49 in the state list empowers the state governments to levy taxes on mineral bearing lands. So the earlier judgment in India Cement case was undone by the Supreme Court in this case, but through 8:1 majority. Then the other question is, when it comes to royalty on offshore minerals, it is levied by the union government and collected by the union government. So the entire revenue which comes through royalty on offshore minerals, it goes entirely to the union government. So here again there is a recommendation. Madan Mohan Punji Commission has said that royalty which comes on offshore minerals should be shared with the state governments. That's one important issue. Then I said the judgment is delivered by 8:1 majority. So here there is one judge by name Justice Nagaratna has given a dissenting judgment. So Nagaratna said if you levy royalty on one side and also tax on the other side, then this will make mining in this country very expensive and uneconomical. So mining, if it becomes very expensive, we will increasingly depend more and more on imports. So this will affect the economic development in this country. If the cost of minerals, mining of minerals is low, it can propel GDP and economic growth. If the cost of mining increases, then proportionately there is an increase in the cost of products made out of these minerals. So because of high prices, the demand will come down, then growth, economic growth will come down, job creation will come down. So Justice Nagaratna has expressed fears that by recognizing the right of the states to tax mineral bearing lands along with royalty, we are going to create a problem for the mining sector in this country. So remember now, royalty is fixed by the union government, but it is collected by the states only. Along with royalty now, from now onwards, the states can get revenue from royalty on one hand. In addition to that, they can also generate revenue by levying tax on mineral bearing lands. So this will make mining expensive and will affect economic development is the concern expressed by Justice Nagaratna, and so she gave a dissenting judgment. But on the other hand, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud who has led the majority judgment, he says that in India, in the center-state financial relations, we had a problem. The revenue raising capacity of the state governments is very limited compared to the developmental responsibilities. The states have got very limited financial autonomy. So if you want to improve the financial autonomy of the states, it's very important to recognize the right to tax mineral bearing lands under entry 49 of the state list. This will foster better fiscal federalism in this country. By recognizing the power of the states to levy taxes on mineral bearing lands, it will greatly improve the financial situation of the state governments, thereby it will strengthen fiscal federalism. This is the view taken by the majority judgment led by Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. That's it about the judgment. Thank you and all the best.